Hey guys, Mike here from Lunch Money Comics. I'm along the Flea Market Mile in Swansea, New Hampshire. I'm going to check out a whole bunch of antique places and try to find some comic books. Let's see what I find. All right, nothing good in that place. Let's try the next one. All right, not much luck there either, but I got plenty of places to check out. Let's go to the next place. So no such luck on Flea Market Mile, but evidently there's another like Flea Market Mile or another part of Swansea on Route 12 that has a whole bunch of places. So I'm heading down there now. Let's see if I have better luck. All right, mostly furniture in that place, but it's the place right next door. All right, there were comic books in that second place, but as you can see, nothing very good. But there's actually two more places right next to this. Let's check those ones out. Very cool antique place, lots of cool furniture, lots of neat old vintage stuff, but no comic books. One more place gotta check out. All right, really nice antiques in there. Beautiful stuff, 1700s, a lot of it, old paintings, really nice. No comic books. Well, today is not lost because I'm close to the beautiful city of Keene, New Hampshire, and there are two comic book stores there that are pretty great. I'm gonna go over there and try to redeem my day. Okay, I'm in downtown Keene. First up, the comic book store called Comic Boom. Let's check it out. So there's actually two parts of the store. The one I was just in is the gaming stuff, and then they bought a new place 2 doors down full of comic books. Let's go check that one out. So that was a pretty cool store. They have a great new setup. Lots of modern books, lots of trade paperbacks. Not so much old books, but that's okay because I got a trade paperback for me and my son I'm quite excited to get. Let's go check out the other comic book store. I know they get some pretty big books there. Awesome store. I could spend days in there. Only ended up getting one comic book, but it's a pretty cool one. Can't wait to go home and show you guys what I found. So, I went to 9 different indoor flea markets in a place called the Flea Market Mile, trying to find some decent comic books to bring home and show to all of you. And quite honestly, guys, I'm pretty good at this stuff. You know, I've been doing this my entire life, going to antique shops, flea markets, yard sales. I'm pretty good at sniffing out treasure, and very rarely am I completely skunked. Well, 9 places, better part of a day. Surely I got something good to show all of you. No, not really. I mean, you saw in the footage there were comic books, and I did buy some that I'm going to show you, but for the most part, I was not very successful. So why did I show you 14 some odd minutes of footage of me wandering around antique places and not having much to show for it? Well, there are 2 reasons for that. One, in my travels all over New England, I love to seek out local comic book stores, and I love even more to profile them and show them on my channel, talk about them, and draw attention to them. I mean, it's tough to run a small business, guys, especially a comic book store, so anytime I can draw attention to these wonderful people in these great stores, I'm very happy to do that. So both of these locations, Comic Boom and Enterprise Comics, I've been to in the past. Keene, New Hampshire, picturesque and beautiful, by the way. Oh, fun little fact, the original 1995 film Jumanji was largely filmed in Keene, New Hampshire. Fun little movie fact there. It's in the shadow of the awesome Mount Monadnock. It's a mountain I've climbed a million times in my life. And the last time I climbed it with my son, we went down to Keene and checked out both of these places, and we were blown away by them. Not just the comic books, but also the gaming, especially the Dungeons and Dragons. Me and my son are huge D&D fans. So I wanted to show both of those places. I'm happy to go there, buy something from them, try to support the store, and show it to all of you. As usual, guys, I'll put a link down in the description to the websites for both of these locations. If you ever find yourself in southwestern New Hampshire, definitely stop by, check them out. You will not be disappointed, and tell them I said hi. The second reason I wanted to show you guys that footage was a lot of times when I do these videos on indoor flea markets or consignment shops, I get a lot of the same comments, and they're usually something like this. You know, you are so lucky, you have so many places near where you are, we don't have places like that. Or, you know, I never find comic books in antique stores, and when I do, they're overpriced. Man, you are so lucky. Well, to the first part of that, I am very lucky in where I live. So here in New England, we are filthy with flea markets and antique shops and consignment shops. They are absolutely everywhere. Not only that, but like the northeastern United States is pretty densely populated. So there are lots of comic book stores, lots of collectible stores. So in regards to all of that, you know, there is an inexhaustible source of places for me to hunt. So yes, I am very lucky in where I live in the United States. But to the second part of that, I am very lucky in what I find. That is clearly not always true, because what you see on my channel is a bit of selection bias, right? A lot of what you see is the hits and not the misses, because I show you the successes. I don't always show you guys the failures. So the reason I wanted to show you guys this footage was, for a lot of people out there, I feel like what I experienced here in New Hampshire on this day was maybe more in line with some of you. Let me know down in the comments if you can relate to sort of what you saw. You know, you go to lots of places, they have comic books, but they're junk. So that's really why I wanted to show that footage. I just wanted to confirm to some of you that it's not always as easy as I make it seem. There's a lot of times I go out and don't get much at all. The key is persistence and perseverance, right? Just keep going out there, keep hunting, keep looking, and eventually you will find good stuff. The good comic books will come to you. Now, that being said, it's very rare that I go to 2 or 3 places and not find much stuff, let alone 9. So this was a pretty bad day hunting for me. But does that mean the whole day was lost? Absolutely not. There are a few things in my life that I enjoy more than walking around an antique store or a flea market, looking at old things and having those items transport me back in time. It gives me an inner calmness, an inner peace, a moment of zen that I absolutely love. But underneath that calmness, there is something else simmering, and I think all of you know what this is. It's the thrill of the hunt. It's the idea that, yeah, this place doesn't have anything good, but the next place, that next place might, or this next booth, or this next table, or that next box of junk, or what's under that stack of magazines. There could be a treasure under there. And that's sort of the drive that gets me up early on those Sunday mornings to go hunting. It's calming for me and also exciting at the same time. And I was trying to convey a little bit of that to some of you out there. So, was it successful? No, it wasn't that successful, but I still had a fantastic time. So all that being said, I did end up with a stack of comic books that is at least interesting and not all terrible. Although this first one is kind of terrible. So the second place I went to that you saw in the footage did have lots of comic books, but there was really nothing very good. Lots of non-superhero stuff, lots of duplicates. Like there was a whole stack of like Alf books, almost like they cleaned out an old comic book store, and it looked pretty well picked through. There was nothing really good there. But there was one comic book that I saw that ended up being actually 2 comic books in one bag. You saw in the footage briefly. I don't think any of you would have picked this up, and I bet some of you are going to question why on earth I would pick this up. They are the first and second part of the official movie adaptation of the 1982 version of Annie, the one that stars Carol Burnett and Albert Finney, I believe, as Daddy Warbucks. They were $2 each. They are in horrific shape. They're ripped, they're torn, they're wrinkled, they're dirty, and even in good shape, they're not worth particularly much money at all. Why in the world would I buy this? It's simple. My daughter loves Annie. Specifically, she loves this version of Annie, the 1982 version. She watches it all the time. So when I saw this, I absolutely had to get it for her. I came home. She always asked me what I bought, and I pulled this out, and she saw it, and her eyes lit up immediately, and she asked me to read it right away. And we sat on the couch, and we read through both parts of this, and it was a fantastic experience. I've often said it in the past, guys, the value of a comic book isn't always a monetary one. It's the experience, and I really enjoyed reading this with my daughter and also watching her sort of look at a comic book, like watching her eyes track the different panels. And honestly, she's still working on her reading. These are in terrible shape, so I don't care if she has these and she beats them up. It doesn't matter. And she really loved these. So it was the experience, and it was well worth $4. Let me know down in the comments if you would have picked these up, unless you have a daughter who loves Annie. I'm guessing the answer is no, but for me, it was an easy pickup. So this next comic book is actually pretty cool, and I found it at Bill's Trading Post. So this place was incredibly cramped. It was full, floor to ceiling, everywhere you could look, with junk. I could barely walk anywhere. Nothing was priced. And there was this little old man sitting there reading the paper. I assume it was Bill. And yeah, we made some small talk. He asked me where I was from. And I mean, I couldn't believe how much stuff was in this place. Luckily, this guy knew where everything was. I asked him if he had comic books, and he said, yep, you go to the back, you take a left, look down, and you'll find them. Sure enough, I did. You saw it in the footage. I found a stack of comic books that, similar to the last place I just mentioned, also had lots of duplicates, again, as if they got it from like a store or something like that. And I almost missed this book. Right at the very end, I found this book, and I was very happy that I did. It is Superman #1 from Volume 2. It's from 1987. Art and writing by John Byrne, one of my absolute favorites. And what's going on in this book is not only is it the first issue of a new volume, but it's sort of a reinvention and a retelling of Superman after Crisis on Infinite Earths. John Byrne basically took it upon himself to rewrite Superman's backstory or update it in his Man of Steel series, and now we are in a full new volume starting in 1987. John Byrne did the first 22 issues of this. Very cool. But the claim to fame in this book, besides being a #1 issue, is that it also is a retelling of the origin of Metallo, who is basically a cyborg with a kryptonite heart, foe of Superman. Very cool looking comic book. Again, I love John Byrne's art. Very happy to pick this up. I find this book all the time at like $8 to $10. This one was not in great shape, but like I said, none of these were priced. So I asked this guy, hey, how much just for this comic book? He said $1, and I gave him $2. So I think it was worth $2 to me. Again, not in the best shape, but a really cool looking comic book. I love John Byrne. Had to have this book. So there you go, guys. Superman Volume 2, #1, New Origin of the Villain Metallo. So as far as the flea market hunting went, that's all I got. 3 comic books. Like I said, I didn't have much luck, but I knew there were those 2 comic book stores in Keene, New Hampshire that could redeem my day. And honestly, guys, there was no way I was going to this part of New Hampshire and not going to these stores. I'd been there in the past and absolutely loved them. So the first one I went to was Comic Boom. It's right in downtown Keene. Like you saw in the footage, there were actually 2 locations. One side's all gaming, like board games and CCGs, and the other one's all comic books, mostly modern books and trade paperbacks. I didn't have a chance to go through all those comic books. It was a long day already. I was pretty tired. But on the way out, I did look down and see a trade paperback that I had to have. Quick background, a few months ago, I picked this up. This is Strange Academy Volume 1. This is issues 1 through 6 of Strange Academy from 2020, written by Scotty Young, art by Humberto Ramos and Edgar Delgado. And basically, this is telling a story of a group of quirky magic user kids in the Marvel Universe that are at this magical school run by Doctor Strange, Brother Voodoo, and other people like that. I heard great things about this story. I thought my son would really enjoy it as well because he likes comic books. He also likes Harry Potter, so the whole magical school thing, I thought he'd enjoy it. All of that stuff is true. I read through this book, I blasted right through it, and it was fantastic. I really love the characters, especially the art is really cool, and my son thought it was awesome. So I read through this whole book, and then it ends on a rather big cliffhanger, so I was looking for the next volume. So, you guessed it, that's what I found at Comic Boom. Here it is. Strange Academy Volume 2. This is issues 7 through 12 from 2021. Picks up the story exactly where the last one left off. I have not read through this all the way yet. I've only read the first issue, number 7, but I'm already enjoying it. I'm very happy to go back to this magical school. A couple of things about this format, not the story, the format I want to say. One, I love trade paperbacks. I find them very digestible in general, especially when they're smaller. And this is the perfect size to kind of like snuggle up on a chair. Also, they're cheaper. There's only $14 for this book, so I think that's a pretty good deal for what it is. However, the art by Humberto Ramos is awesome, but it's very busy. It's very frenetic. There's a lot going on in it, and in the smaller format, it's very hard to see or appreciate that art. So the only thing I'll say with these smaller ones is that I wish I had a bigger format to really enjoy that art more. Maybe if this was like a full comic book size, I would definitely like it more. But still, very happy to pick this up. Very happy to have some more modern comic book reading to go along with the other volume here. And yeah, I hope it keeps going. I'm really enjoying this series so far. So my last stop was Enterprise Comics. Like I said, I've been there in the past. They have an awesome comic book selection, lots of really good high-end books, and they're sort of a staple of like a lot of the New England comic book shows. But my favorite part about the store has nothing to do with comic books. it's actually because they have a fantastic selection of Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Not only that, but they have like a secret back room where every time I've ever been there seems to be like a session going on and people sort of gaming in this back room. Very, very cool place. If you're ever in the area and you are a comic book or D&D fan, definitely you got to stop by this place. So again, running out of time, it was late in the day. Started going through the list of comic books on my wish list on my phone, and I went through the Marvel Team Up box and found a book I've been looking for a long time. It is this. This is Marvel Team Up number 53, of course, featuring Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk. Cover art by Dave Cockrum and John Romita. But why did I want this book? Because the inside pencils are done by John Byrne. John Byrne is one of my favorite comic book artists because of all of his work on the X-Men. In fact, he is my favorite X-Men artist, and I love his run that he did with Chris Claremont. I think it's one of the best runs in the history of comics. And it just so happens that inside this book, the X-Men make an appearance, which means the first time John Byrne drew the X-Men is in this comic book. And you can definitely see it, guys. You open up that section, and there's certain X-Men that he drew very iconically. I feel like Storm specifically has a very obvious John Byrne style, Wolverine too, to an extent. So very happy to have this book to add to my John Byrne and X-Men collection. The original price on it was $25. I got it for a little bit of a discount. I got it for $22 and sort of the capstone of my comic book hunting day. So there you go, guys. Not the most successful day hunting for comic books, but at least no one can accuse me of being overly lucky anymore. Head on down to those comments and let me know if what you saw in that footage is more what you experience when you go to flea markets and antique stores. I'd love to hear from every single one of you. While you're down there, hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't. And also, you can follow me on Instagram under Lunch Money Comics IG. Down in those comments, let me know which one of my pickups you like the best. Obviously, it's Annie. All kidding aside, very happy to pick these up. Well worth the $4 just to experience these with my daughter. I got this awesome John Byrne work right here. Superman #1, very cool cover. Great backstory of Metallo. This other John Byrne work right here of the first X-Men. Very, very excited to pick this one up. And it obviously didn't take much for this to be the best book I picked up on this day. And of course, I'm very happy to journey back into the quirky world of Strange Academy and have some more modern reading material. So as usual, guys, I hope you keep hunting for comic books in strange and unusual places, especially flea markets and antique places, because even if you have bad luck, you just keep at it and eventually you will hit pay dirt. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time.